When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Fairgrounds, Turfway Park, and Gulfstream Park for Pegasus World Cup Preview Day. It's also our final jury of the year, so pressure's on to finish on a high note and hit all of our best bets. And I will put the pressure on you, Darin, to start. Tell me what your best bet of the week is.
Never pressure handicapping races. Pressure getting all the gifts for the kids this time of year. Best bet, race number 11 at Gulfstream on their great card, Pegasus World Cup Preview Day. It's the Swanee River Stakes. I just didn't think that the American runners in here came up that tough. So I went to one of the South African invaders in Bless My Stars for Todd Pletcher. This is a mare that is owned by Gary Barber and Team Valor International and has faced some pretty stiff competition. When you take a look, you have two South African invaders here, and you compare the races that these two horses were in. There's no question that Bless My Stars has been coming out of the races that have been tougher. It has been performing better. The layoff obviously is a question, but Todd Pletcher is one of the best in the business in getting horses ready off the bench. She does have 5 workouts at Palm Beach Downs in preparation for this. Irad Ortiz is getting the call, and you're going to see her come storming through here to get a good piece of this race. 3 starts back. This is back on July of 2023. That's her with the Stars getting the win here with that white cheek piece, a noseband. Yeah, I mean, I just think that this is a mare that Pletcher has probably had for quite a while, has developed her. She's run at some very good races down there and catches a field that I just think is a little bit suspect when you take a look at them from top to bottom. Breathe Away is a filly that, she's fine. She's run well. Ocean Club has done some good things. Be Your Best finally put it together into Long Island. But I just think there's more questions than answers with the American runners in here. So I'm going to take Bless My Stars despite the outside draw here.
Any thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, I mean, he's thinking. I could see his thoughts on that field. That field, there's not a lot of great options in it. I glanced at that Swanee River and definitely took a look at that Team Barber horse that Pletcher, the Bless My Stars 5-year-old mare coming over. They had a good horse running Keeneland. It ran second, but they've won Pletcher and Team Valor with these European shippers before, so they know what they're doing.
And certainly a good trainer-jockey combination there at Gulfstream, so can definitely get the job done, especially with Irad Ortiz Jr.
Yep. My best bet's going to come at Turfway Park Saturday. It's number 1, Ricky Wannabe in the 3rd race. And this is an Indiana-bred gelding. He's run 8 times in his career, and his best race up until his last one was his first start at Turfway. Ricky Wannabe debuted in a maiden $30,000 claimer at Turfway Park. Broke from post 2 that day. Didn't have a real clean trip, but I thought ran a really good second in a maiden $30,000 open claimer at Turfway. Then he went to Indiana Horseshoe Indianapolis, and a few starts later basically just went off form racing over the main track. But I do think it looks like Ricky Wannabe is coming back into form. He just broke his maiden last out, second start off of freshening over a sloppy track at Horseshoe Indianapolis. And I like these horses with this pass form on this synthetic track that, go elsewhere. Their form might get a little dirtied up, and then they come back to Turfway, and often they'll run a bang-up race. And, this is a non-winners of 2 lifetime, but none of his 13 rivals or 11 rivals in the main body of the field, none of them have won on synthetic. Heck, he ran second on synthetic. Most of these horses, if they have run on it, they've run poorly. So I know he likes the track. I know he's run well from an inside post. I know he's coming in off of a career best effort. And all signs point to. And also, the other thing I like about Ricky Wannabe was he showed good speed last time. He has the tactical ability, I think, to make his own trip in a field lacking speed. So all signs point to number one, Ricky Wannabe. He's a single in the early pick 5, pick 4s at Turfway Saturday for me.
Yeah, this is a race that there's not a whole lot in here. I didn't like the morning line favorite in this race was almost going to be my fade until I saw that James had selected it. The horse that I thought was interesting was the 7 Beware of Pride, who's going to be an unknown on the all weather, but has kept some good company, has some decent race lines. I respect Michael Pino when he shows up in a spot like this. And the horse has back-to-back extremely promising workouts at Turfway Park. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to take to it in a race, but he looks like he's training lights out. I love Albin Jimenez there as a rider. He knows Turfway like the back of his hand. So those were the two for me in there that I liked. And this is probably a race between the 1 and the 7 that I was going to lean on quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a tough race, but you made a good point, James. There's a lot of horses in here that have done pretty poorly on synthetic tracks. There's some 0 for 10, 0 for 8 at Turfway runners in here. So definitely a reason to stay away from them as well. But I will take it over to Fairgrounds for my best bet, and I'm going with number 1, Mischievous Rogue at 9-2, and race 8, the Richard Shearer Memorial Stakes. It's 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And this is a 6-year-old gelding making his first start off the claim for Brittany Vandenberg, who wins 21% of the time first off the claim. She's also a 22% winner with Shippers, and Mischievous Rogue was beaten just a neck as the favorite last out when racing 5 furlongs, rallied late, and with a little bit of an added distance, I think will do well here. Has 3 wins in 3 seconds from 7 starts at 5.5 furlongs on the turf, picking up Jareth Loveberry. He's doing really well at Fairgrounds, 18% winner this meet. And the morning line favorite, if we even see the morning line favorite show up here, just raced at Turfway last week, and that's one timer at 3-1 on the morning line. I thought some vulnerable horses in this field, so I'm going with the 9-2 choice for Brittany Vandenberg.
Yeah, this race was bizarre to me because for a turf sprint stake, there's not a lot of speed in it, which I think is interesting. And I mean, maybe the speed of the race is Bear River, who shows some quick lines, and he's a big long shot at 20-1. I know Stitch has shown speed going around 2 turns. Panther Island has been close in a couple of spots, but yeah, there's just not a whole lot of speed in here. And one timer, you're right. I have no idea if this horse is running back because Fairgrounds enters well in advance, and so he might have actually been entered almost the day before he ran at Turfway. So this race was a head scratcher from a pace standpoint. And if you get the horse who ends up on the lead here, it could be a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, I was looking at Bear River because huge long shot, and this was a horse that James and I were talking about at Colonial back in the Van Cleef, and ended up finishing 6th in that race, but huge price who could just go gate to wire here. But I was looking at Mischievous Rogue too in the past, had sat right off the early speed, so maybe we'll switch up tactics here, but normally does come from far back. So if he sits a little closer, better chance, I think, here.
And I'll just point out one other thing. That horse that beat it, Macedo, he's in race 8 at Gulfstream. So you'll see him run in the Janus Stakes before they run the Richie Shearer Memorial. And that's a nice horse for Cassie. He's 12-1 on the morning line, but that race looks pretty, I think the favorites could be a little bit vulnerable in that spot. And I wouldn't be surprised that Macedo, even if he doesn't win, he could run well, being 2nd or 3rd in there from a tough potential rail post. And I thought that was a good race by the top 2 at Churchill Downs.
Let's stick with Gulfstream, James, because your fade is at Gulfstream. So tell me about that.
Yeah, my fade is going to be number 2, Tumbarumba. He's 8-5 in the Harlan's Holiday Stakes. Listen, I've got Tumbarumba pegged as a 1-turn middle distance specialist. And, he's a miler who, to me, can cut back easily to 6.5 at 7 furlongs. Heck, in his last 3 starts at 6.5 or 7 furlongs, he's won 2 of his last 3 starts. The one thing he can't do, or he's proven that he can't do, is win past a mile. He's 0 for 6 past a mile. 2 of those starts where he lost or he's 0 for 5 past a mile. 2 of those short starts, including one recent one, were at short odds. And if you look at his races at just a mile, he's got 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a fourth in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I don't see him stepping up in 2025 and winning dirt route races. His best chances to be a top-class performer are aiming for races like the Carter Handicap and the Churchill Downs Sprint at 7 furlongs next spring. Running him in 2 turned-out dirt routes seems like a waste of time, in my opinion, for Tumbarumba. So those wanting to play Tumbarumba at a less than favorable distance will get the opportunity Saturday in the Harlan's Holiday Stakes.
I was going to bring up Tuscan Sky in our next segment talking about the Harlan's Holiday, but might as well bring it up here. I'm excited to see Tuscan Sky for Todd Pletcher running this race. I think he's got a decent chance here, drawing the rail, and was a horse I really liked earlier this year on the Derby Trail, but didn't quite pan out. But hoping into the year he could live up to the potential I thought I saw.
I think it's an interesting race from a pace standpoint because I think the 4 inside runners all want to go forward. And at this mile and a 16th, where that first turn comes up pretty quickly, it could make for an interesting pace dynamic. Steel Sunshine, if he gets a trip, I think he's going to be tough. I'm always a little bit dubious about horses that have to, rally from well back at Gulfstream Park, but he has shown an affinity for this track throughout his career. He's run over it 17 times. He's hit the board in 13 of them. He's had some back and forths with Tumbarumba. Tumbarumba's got the better of him by about a 3/4 of a length margin a couple of times. He's gotten the better of Tumbarumba as well. So kind of interesting to see those two locking up once again. But it's a pretty fascinating race. A couple of 3-year-olds in here, like you mentioned as well. Going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Darren, what's your fade for the week?
Yeah, so my fade is going back to Turfway Park, and it's just a regular maiden race. But, to be honest with you, this is kind of where I make my hay when it comes to handicapping. Race 5 on Saturday. It's maiden special weight, a mile and a 16th. Number 5, Wallstib, is going to be my fade. This horse debuted twice at Saratoga as a 2-year-old, August the 10th and August the 26th. Ran well both times, including as a favorite. Then went away for about 13, 14 months' time. 14 months, actually. Came back and was a beaten favorite off the bench, and then came back again in the second race back off the layoff, going 6 furlongs, and ran okay, but again, just found a way to get beat. And now he's stretching out to a mile and a 16th for the first time here for trainer Kenny McPeak. This is just the profile of a horse that I don't want any part of at a short price. When you got horses in here like Passing Game for Peter Urton, who's putting the blinkers on off a fine debut, I would much rather take a better price on that horse. Ghost Nation at a monster price, second race back off the long layoff, I think is somewhat interesting. Al Rasik is up there 12-1 off a solid third place finish against a good maiden field. So my point being, there's just other options in here than to settle on a horse that's 0 for 4 and has burned cash repeatedly at short prices, granted in some tough races, but and also the unknown of the synthetic as well. I think there's a lot of pieces to this that make this a very vulnerable favorite, in my opinion.
Wallstib was a buzz horse first time out. I think he was like 10-1 morning line, and he wound up going off 4-1, but he was bet down shorter early on. So there was like a lot of buzz, but a lot of like the word was out on him. And he ran second by a neck, and that's his best start. So, I mean, his races his form has declined steadily since that effort. He was the favorite in his next 2 races, the second of which he came back off a freshening and really ran a poor effort, I thought, too, back at Churchill. So I see all the points. I agree with everything Darren said. He's lost ground in the stretch of all 4 starts as well. I want to see him get a little bit of time off and come back and perhaps turn things around, because right now things aren't going the right direction for Wallstib, it doesn't appear.
And I'll take it back to Fairgrounds for my fade. It's number 3, Alvarado Cat at 3-1 in the opener, the start of the early pick 5. And this is a 6 furlong allowance for Louisiana breds. And this is a tail of the cat gelding who finished 3rd against Similar last out on November 28th at Fairgrounds. The runner-up beat him by half a length and is back in this field today. And Alvarado Cat's speed figures have been lighter since coming off a layoff 2 back, posted a 78 last out and a 71 coming off that layoff 2 starts back. And, could improve 3rd off the layoff, but the 6 furlong distance is a concern. He's 0 for 4 at the distance, and his lone win came at a mile 3 back when breaking his maiden at 5th asking. He's also 0 for 3 at Fairgrounds, so just a lot of reasons to play against this kind of lukewarm morning line favorite in the opener of the early pick 5.
Yeah,
In
nothing wrong with
agreement.
the pick in the opener.
I know it's not the most exciting race, but I feel like there's a few others that you could play instead. And I'm always trying to play against favorites, including heavy favorites, as we have seen before in our other shows. Let's move on to our promos and maybe tournaments this weekend. So, Darin, what are we doing at TwinSpires this weekend?
Yeah, we have that money back continuing at Turfway. Obviously, they have a great weekend of racing Friday and Saturday. $10 money back on the selected races. So go to the promo page, see which races. It's usually about half the card that is eligible for this, and be sure to opt in and get that $10 back if your horse runs second in any of those races. We also have that triple rewards promo that's still going on. Turfway Park and the Fairgrounds Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Triple rewards points means that when you are opted in, your 4x points becomes 12x. So 12 times wager rewards, a great opportunity to really pad that reward bankroll heading into the final couple of weeks of the year. Of course, your points, they're not going to expire as long as you use them within the next year. Our rewards program is not going anywhere. You could save them for next year. You can keep growing them as well. And Little Birdie tells me we might have some more points offers coming your way in January as well. So a lot to look forward to there. Tournament-wise, we've got a big Kentucky Derby betting challenge qualifier. We have an Oaklawn feeder for that. The qualifier is coming up on the 21st. It's the Gun Runner qualifier at the Fairgrounds. I think we already have 37 players that are in this one, so it's going to be a great turnout. Hopefully we'll get to at least 2 Kentucky Derby betting challenge seats being awarded in this tournament. It's a great card at the Fairgrounds, great opportunity to be involved, and be sure to participate in these feeder contests. The last opportunity is tomorrow at Oaklawn, as you get a look at that graphic there. And now that feeder, the really cool thing about it, we have a new feature, new bonus with our tournaments. It's called Feeder Friday. What that means is we are giving you a discounted opportunity to win seats. So whereas it would normally be 1 seat for every 5, the more people that play, the lower that ratio gets. So if you take a look at the details of it, whereas normally, once you get the 2 seats in, it would be 1 for every 15. I'm sorry, 3 seats for 15. It becomes 3 seats for 14 in. And it keeps kind of escalating. So go check out the details of that, as basically the more people that participate, the more opportunity we have to kind of lower that ratio and really ramp up the amount of seats being awarded. So it's a really cool feeder contest to be involved in, as we're kind of giving those bonus seats out based on the number of people that get involved. So be sure to take part in that as the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge heats up as we get into Derby prep season, guys.
All right, and we'll stick with you, Darin, and talk about what we're watching for this weekend. So, or just what caught your eye, I guess I should
Yeah,
say.
it's on a sad note. The Freehold Raceway is going to be closing on December the 28th. It's a racetrack that's been around for 170 years. That's not a typo. Since I believe 1853 is when harness racing came to this area. The track has obviously gone through changes over the years. They had a fire about 30 some odd years ago and had to rebuild the facility. On a professional level in the industry, it's going to hurt the harness racing industry in New Jersey. It's one of only 2 tracks from a standardbred standpoint that remain, this and the Meadowlands. Obviously, it doesn't sport the caliber of horses that necessarily participate at the Meadowlands, but it did give horsemen an opportunity to race for money while not having to compete against the best of the best at the Big M. So it's going to be a pretty big void in the racing industry. And on a personal level, spent a lot of time with my dad there in what was known as Billy's Room. My dad used to own standardbreds. I remember seeing horses of ours like Michelin's Lair and Manasquan and Trot Like Dad as owners, and being that winner's circle there, and a lot of fond memories with my dad doing a double header where we would go to Freehold, watch our horse run, and then we go to the Meadowlands at night. So, it's just another piece of my childhood that's getting a little bit further away from me with the closing of this track. And, it hurts a little bit personally, but, I definitely feel bad for the people in the area, the industry as well. It's going to be a big loss for them.
Are you gonna go to their last day?
I'm not going to be here. I'm heading to Florida on the 28th. I had that
Oh.
trip booked, for a long time. So unfortunately, I won't be able to. But, I'm sure there'll be a lot of friendly faces there that I've seen for quite some time.
James, I'll turn it over to you. What are you watching for this weekend?
Yeah, that's really sad about Freehold closing. What else? I'm going to put the spotlight on the road to Kentucky Derby and Oaks races this weekend. These are the final races of 2025, the Gunrunner Stakes at for males and the Untappable Stakes for fillies. And In the Gunrunner Stakes, number 5, Admiral Dennis, a convincing second out maiden maiden winner at Churchill Downs for Brad Cox in early November. He heads a field of 5. Luis Saez will be up on the Chestnut Constitution Colt, and his main rival on the morning line. And just looking at the race, I do think is number 3, Magnitude, who perhaps wasn't at his best when he ran in the Iroquois 2 starts back, but I thought he really improved off that effort last time. Looked really good winning an entry-level allowance at Churchill Downs, and has the potential to keep moving forward for Steve Asmussen. So Admiral Dennis, he figures to be prominent from the start. Magnitude be more stalking it up close, though not too far back as well also. And both horses will be prominent from the start, and we'll see these horses, what they have to offer. In the Untappable, I'm really excited to see this race. Obviously has California Sunset, another filly for Brad Cox. You've got this Amherst, who's won a maiden at Keeneland, entry-level allowance at Churchill for Eddie Keneally. Paris Lily is a Brendan Walsh. First out, she was bet down to like even money and won first time out. There's no chance she'll be 8-1, I don't think. But I'm really excited to see number 4, Golden Gamble, run in her first race. It was just a learning experience. She ran okay that day for 3rd, but I really thought she took a huge step forward and really she was still green and wanting to go in and out in the stretch. And Brian is basically spending as much time just trying to keep her off the rail as he is riding her. And she just drew off effortlessly here, I thought. I watched this replay a couple times. Really like what I see from this Leoban filly for Kenny McPeak. So excited to see Golden Gamble run in the Untappable Stakes Saturday at Fairgrounds.
She's definitely a worthy morning line favorite, but I felt like this was a really tough race. I could make an argument for almost every single horse in this field.
Yeah,
and
it really is. I thought
so.
the other one doesn't have as much as an intrigue because it doesn't have the depth, or it isn't as well matched. But this race really sort of came up exciting, I thought.
It's the first 2-year-old filly stake that I've seen in quite a while that Brad Cox doesn't have an absolute stranglehold over. I mean, he's got one in there, got a shot. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's going to be 3-5 in here.
Yeah.
And I'll close out talking about Pegasus World Cup Preview Day. And Saffie Joseph in particular has a huge presence this weekend at Gulfstream. 19 entries on the 11 race card, including 5 in the Sugar Swirl, and also multiple in the other stakes as well. We already talked about the Harlan's Holiday, which, James, you're not playing Saffie Joseph. That's okay. I'm also not. I'm playing Tuscan Sky. But he has a ton of entries, a ton of chances. So it's a good chance for you to see if Saffie Joseph has some runners to maybe watch out for on actual Pegasus World Cup Day on January 25th. They'll also have White Abarrio and Skippy Longstocking pointed toward the Pegasus World Cup. And then as far as the Pegasus World Cup prep, that is the Harlan's Holiday. The Fort Lauderdale is the prep for the Pegasus World Cup Turf, I believe. And then is it the Swanee? Is that the
Philly Mare
Turf? Okay,
Yeah.
So watch out for Saffie Joseph this weekend. We'll see how many of they can't all win because they're going up against each other, but we'll see how many wins at the end of the day he ends up with.
I heard James was most excited to head down there and go see Black Coffee, Diplo, and Dasha at the big party.
I know, you're a huge fan.
I heard James is going to be in the mosh pit there.
Yeah, you know me.
That's his scene.
I'm such a big fan,
James has no idea who any of those 3 people are.
I mean, I
didn't understand what Ashley was saying before about music, but I could shake my head. Yeah.
You got onto the Taylor Swift references in the past better than what Darin just said.
Yes.
Dash is actually Taylor Swift 2.0 if you take a look at her.
Okay.
Oh, I had no idea either.
Yep, there you go.
All right, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires jury. It is our final jury of the year. So we wish you happy holidays, a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2025.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.